This presentation is on Punch magazine cartoons. Henry Mayhew and Ebenezer Landells co-founded Punch magazine in 1841. Punch magazine was a London-based magazine. This magazine reigned for over 161 years, from 1841 to 2002. The magazine was first issued on July 17, 1841. According to the Illustration Chronicles, quote, Punch combined humor, illustration, and political debate with a fresh and radical audacity, end quote. The magazine was massively popular and influential in the 1840s and 1850s. To the right is a famous Punch magazine political cartoon depicting the internal struggle of the United States between the South and the North. During the Civil War, the pace of cartoon production quickened. From 1860 to 1865, close to 200 lithographic cartoons were published, covering all aspects of the conflict. The first American attempt at a comic weekly came 1 year after Punch, in August of 1842. The pictorial wag featured full-page political cartoons by John Manning. John Leech, illustrator for Punch magazine, first popularized the term cartoon. He became known as the first cartoonist. Here is one of Punch magazine publications. It is called King Cotton Bound, The Modern Prometheus. The complete blockade of Charleston Harbor produced any further exportation of cotton to England, November 1861. Slave-grown American cotton allowed British cities such as Birmingham to prosper. From the outset of the Civil War, one of the aims of the northern blockade of southern ports was to prevent the export of cotton, which the South could use to purchase military supplies from Europe. British imperialists had begun to promote the growing of cotton in Egypt and India and welcomed the elimination of American competition. Here is another Punch magazine publication called Rowdy, Notions of Emancipation. From this illustration, you could gather how Punch magazine viewed the Civil War and following unrest as something Lincoln turned his back on. Quote, the cartoon depicts the violence perpetrated against African Americans during the New York City draft riots of July 13th through the 16th in 1863. It shows Abraham Lincoln at far left, standing with his back turned to the riot taking place behind him. Lincoln shown wearing striped pants and as the jacket is scowling and looking off into the distance. To compare and to contrast Punch cartoons and American view of the Civil War, we have to go into these topics. England was very interested in the outcome of the American Civil War for a variety of reasons. It had considerable trade relations with the United States, including a large trade in southern cotton. The United States was a significant military and economic power, and the moral and economic issue of slavery was important because the British had already abolished slavery on their land. Americans saw the conflict on two sides: slavery and the right of states' freedom and their right to have slaves to benefit the cotton industry. The cotton industry was at a time an all economic high, but the morality behind the industry was the problem at hand. Did Punch ever change its views on the Civil War? According to Gaber S. Bora, author of the Journal of the Abraham Lincoln Association, quote, during the first half of 1864, Punch seems to have thrown up its hands, as if to say that Britain could do nothing. And so volume 46 of the magazine carries only a single big cut that is at all related to the American Civil War. Volume 47, however, for the second half of 1864, has 10 editorial cartoons out of a possible 26, close to 40% of their cartoons, that volume, related to the Civil War. To the right is a Punch cartoon depicting the North and the South and the slave-based economy of cotton that was destroying the the Union. In conclusion, this exercise helps us to view the perspectives of British regarding the Civil War. This is useful to examine foreign viewpoints on the conflict because of the potential impacts to them. The Civil War threatened the biggest production industry the world had ever seen up to this point. The proof is in the numbers. By the late 1850s, cotton grown in the United States accounted for 77% of the 800 million pounds of cotton consumed by Britain. The Punch magazine had a significant impact on British public opinion. Here is the works cited.